Good evening, J206. Part 2 coming up, Datawrapper and our first data visualization. I'm going to have us jump back to california.gov and CCC Datamart and pull a query. Yesterday, I recorded a video that had us pulling a lot of data, but I went through Datawrapper and I want us to start a little bit lower key. So we're going to go back again to CCC Datamart right here, student head count, annual term student count, same thing, same place where we were yesterday. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to pull some data. Again, just for Cuesta College, I can search district or college-wide search. Tonight I'm just going to go straight to Cuesta College here this way by scrolling down in this drop-down menu to Cuesta. Here we go. So there we are. I'm going to search by annual search, that's yearly search. And then, just like yesterday, I'm going to pull the first 10 years, actually 10 years going straight back from here to 2008. Okay, 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, right up to last year. So that's what we want. I'm going to choose to take this as a CSV file. I'm going to view that report, and I'm going to see all these years and numbers of total students over the years for the past 10 years. And that's the report that I want to look at. So I'm going to export that again to a CSV file here. Excel or text also work again, but I want to go CSV. So export. It's going to ask me where I want to save it to, my machine, of course. And here we go. I'm going to go pull that. I'm going to jump over now to Datawrapper. I have that up on my site, or my site here. I built a couple of visualizations I was practicing to get started here with this tool. And so what you want to do is open a new chart here in Datawrapper. And so you have a new chart, and this is the main page here. We're going to upload our data, and we upload that CSV file right here. Before I upload it, I'm going to move it back over to where I want. In my downloads folder, I had it here. I'm going to move it right back over into a designated folder on my machine, on my hard drive, where I want it to go, which happens to be titled Data Visualization. Okay, so it's there. And for good measure, I'm going to open that folder up and look at it in a spreadsheet, that file rather, in a spreadsheet, and look and see what I have, which is always a good idea, to know what you have before you're going to pull it into another editor. And so what I'm looking at here is I see college name Cuesta, and then I see numbers going across that correspond with years if I look at the years. Now I see 2008 and 9 two times. That is because the CCC Datamart gives us a percent and a count. 20,000, 100% of 20,000. All these 100,000 sit here, and they're kind of an annoying addition here because we really don't need to know that the totals are 100%. Or actually we do, but we see that they are all, so we actually don't have to put that into our visualization because we already know it. It's not changing. So what I actually want to do before we import this file into Datawrapper is make some changes in the spreadsheet, that CSV, by taking out these annual counts. So the way that I'm going to do that is highlight right above that column, column C in this case. I'm going to right click and I'm going to clear, I'm going to delete that column right there. So it's gone. Okay, so and what that happens is it pulls over 2009 close up to 2008. So student count 20, and then drops a little bit. So I'm going to actually manually go through here, delete all these percents, and get rid of them because I don't want to bring in percents to my visualization right now. So, oops, that was an insert. I'll go Control Z on that and delete. And again, another almost there. Here we go. Okay, so if I enlarge these a little bit, I can see them a little bit better. But basically, I'm looking at just student counts here. Okay, so I will save that file. I'll give it an S again. Control S rather, Command S on my Mac. I work on a Mac. So now I'm going to hop back over to Datawrapper. I'm going to upload that same CSV file that I just pulled the percents out of. Okay, and I named that 7, so let's open it up. And Datawrapper is going to pull that right in, and it's going to start interpreting that data. So it's going to look a lot like what I just had in my spreadsheet, which you should also see in yours. And I'm going to see some interesting stuff here. I'm going to see annual, 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 with the years going across. And then I'm going to see college name and Questa coming down in this column. So at my first row, I've got all my years. And then my first column, I've got Questa College with the student counts all the way across. So the first thing I can do after here, I get it here, is to look at and see what Datawrapper automatically decides to visualize this as. Now I'm expecting to visualize a bar chart or a column chart, but when we click ahead here to visualize, you're going to see there's a lot of different options. So I'll click that visualize bar and see what happens. Nothing's happening. In fact, I'm getting an error message saying insufficient data. And I understand what's going on here. This says I need at least one column of the type number to populate axis Y. That's a lot of gobbledygook right now, but axis Y, for your information, is on a column, or on a graph paper. Y goes up and X goes across. So when they say axis Y, we need the up and down vertical column to have a number. So what that means is I need to go back to check and describe, which is where my data is. So I just click that box back there. And what they're saying is this column, column A, needs to be a number instead of a name like this. So, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click A, just like that. And I'm going to C, B, C, C. So click A, and I come over here and I see column type. I also see x.1. x.1 is just a random name that Datawrapper added to this. So I'm going to change that actually by double clicking on it, and I'm going to highlight it by double highlighting it, and I'm going to name it Questa College. And I can rename any of these column headers like this by just double clicking on them. And I don't like annual very much, so I'm going to leave 2008. So what I'm actually going to do right now, real quick, is go through and now, I could leave annual in there, but it's not very elegant, so I like just to have straight years, make it real simple. Annual sort of confuses maybe some people what annual means. Is an annual flower, it's a or whatever, but it's not terribly elegant in the graph itself when we get back to it. You'll see what I mean here. So you're welcome to change names of headers, of rows, and oftentimes if you just double click, it's real straightforward. So now I have just the straight years across for the last decade. I have Questa College coming up and down. College name, student count. This row is sort of not necessary. It's actually redundant because I know that these numbers are the student count. I know the college name here. So what I'm actually going to do is take out row 2 because I've scrolled across. I know it's not information that I need to go into the graph. So after I highlight it, I'm just going to hit delete. And you'll notice all the information disappears. So that's not going to even be part of the graph now, which is okay, because again, what I mainly want to see is the year corresponding with the number of student population. Okay, so now I've done some changing around, and let's get back to that first question which we first saw, which is axis Y needs to be a number. It needs a number to understand how to graph this. So I click on A on the top. If I click on any of these columns on the C level or the D or the E, I highlight the whole column, and I can change the whole column over here. Now if I highlighted it only on, say, the date, I'd only be basically giving, highlighting it to change the name or the date there. So I don't want to do that. I want to highlight the whole column like that. Okay, so I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to come over here, and I have this drop down that says text, number, or date. Now, Questa College is definitely not a number, and it's definitely not a date. So I'm going to just highlight text. And right now, it stays as text. And then B, if I come over here, now B is definitely not a number or a date. It's actually, oh, I'm sorry, it is a number and it is a date. It's not text. So come over here and hit date. What happens? Oh, it changes to green. That's interesting. Green denotes date. Black, as we know, denotes text. And C, if I if I'll just do this for the purpose of this, is change that into a number. The number we see now changes into blue. So we have a blue, we have a green, and we have a black. Those are important things to know in a general sense about graphs, and we'll talk more about that in the weeks to come. I'm going to change that back right now to auto and leave that alone. But let's go check and see what we can visualize here now. So we've changed column A. Column A actually doesn't have any numbers, right? So I couldn't change it to a number, but I did change it to text. Let's see what happens if I visualize it. So I click on that visualize button, and same message. Still need to populate a number on axis Y. So that's it. Basically, it's not letting me look at the data this way. Insufficient data again. And what I'm doing here is actually kind of, you notice I was on the lines and I moved up, I clicked column chart, and I'm also thinking bar chart is something that I wanted to look at this data in this format. But again, it's not letting me insufficient data again. So I'm going to go back again and I'm going to change something, and this is a really good trick to know about. I'm going to swap rows and columns by transposing them. All editors let you transpose, even Microsoft Excel, the spreadsheet, you can transpose things, and that means you're swapping the X and Y axes. So what I'm going to do by clicking on this is move all those dates, 2008, 2009, 10, 11, so forth, and they're going to move over to column A and go down instead of across, and the numbers are also going to swap. So let's click it and see what happens. So all of a sudden now I have all my dates coming down, and then I have numbers over here, 20, 18. But I say, wait, it's not 20.4. So I can swap back again because that's not going to change anything. But I see that 20 here, 18, 15, 15. Okay, so I'm actually seeing something, and that is that they're actually shortening these numbers, or rather Datagraphic is. So it's shortened those numbers from 20,000 to 20.4. But I've got my numbers, my dates here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change, this is no longer text, this is actually dates. So I'm going to change that to dates. And it's actually Cuesta College, so I could rename this also to say Cuesta College, for instance, years. So we know very clearly 8, 9, 10 years, whatnot. Okay, college name, don't really need that. When we get to columns, we can use another handy tool here. What columns again are up and down, rows are across, as you know. B column, I don't need, so I'm going to hide this column because I don't need the college name. I have Cuesta College, it's going to be in my title. I just don't need a column that says that. And then C column will be my, again, student population. So I'm going to show you another trick. When I click on the C again, I can highlight all those and I can change all those numbers, and this is a very handy tool. I come over here and it's a column type, it's a number. Now it's automatically guessing it's a number, which is accurate, so I'm going to make sure it's a number by just clicking number there. So it's a number, and then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say use some of these. I'm going to use the round numbers to, or the divide and multiply by. So in this case, these are again drop downs, so you can just play with these and switch them one way, switch them another way to see how it looks. I know that I need to multiply 20.4 by 1,000 to get it to 20,000, which I know intuitively is the actual population at Cuesta College, the student enrollment in 2008 and 9. So actually I want to change that number back to what it should look like. So I click on C, multiply, divide by 1,000. Oh, I didn't have it highlighted, I think. Is that it? Let's try it again. I'll multiply by 1,000. Oh, and look at that. It pops it right out, 20,371, which is almost the population. It was not point decimal zero. It's a little odd because we don't have a point zero typically on a big number like that. But let me go back and show you that again, because this is such a really important tool. So I multiplied by 1,000 because I knew that was what. What if I multiplied it by, say, 100? Oh, it changes. Now it's just 2,000s. And obviously that's just moving the decimal point, 1 or 2 slots. I could move it, multiply it by 1,000,000, and suddenly I'd have 20 million as the number here. So you can see how things adjust in this data editor, and you need to kind of adjust it back. Now, again, you can divide and you can multiply it with this tab. Let me show you what it would look like if you went to the round numbers too. Round numbers is actually something we do need to use. You can move decimal places, or you can use significant digits. Now, if I use significant 6 as a digit, what would happen? So it would change the digits a little bit again to 2 commas there. But I'm going to get it back to where I know it needs to be, which is just to represent the original student enrollment. And if I need to double check that, one thing I can always do is flip back to my spreadsheet. So I'll just jump back to Excel, and oh, right there, 2008-9, 20,371 total enrollment. So I know it needs to look like that in my Datawrapper editor here. So it needs to look like that. It's not 20 million. So again, I'm going to come back. Instead of multiplying or dividing by 1 million, I'm going to go back to my 1,000, and I get back to 20,000. But it's that 0.0 that I don't want. I need to get rid of that because I need it to be a round number. So I'm going to come back here and move my decimal place over, and I'm going to click on 0. And let's see what happens. Yes, it pulls it right back to where I want it to be. If I, for instance, had used decimal point 2, 2 decimal points, and suddenly I'd be talking about a dollar sign here, but that's not really what I want either. So back to 0, and I have my enrollment in a column, and the columns match my years to my enrollment. So now what I think is going to happen when I come over here and visualize is that I'm going to be able to see a very nice clean bar chart, and it's going to show me what the population was at Cuesta over the years. And sure enough, it does. Scrolling down, 2008, 20,000, 18. And so what this does, putting all these numbers here with a nice visual element, shows me what has happened over the past 10 years, which is that we had a lot of students here 10 years ago. It dipped quite a bit in 2013-14, and it's picking up a little bit, it looks like right now. Now, that's the total population. If we recall, we can go back to CCC Data Mart and pull in lots of more variables like gender, demographics, age, all those kinds of things, and give a more nuanced picture. But right now, we have a pretty solid picture of how many people have been attending Cuesta College for the past decade. So I'm going to go with this. I like this bar chart. I'm going to leave it as is. I like the numbers there. Let me show you a couple more things about Datawrapper, and then I'm going to wrap this tutorial up. If I click through chart types here, again, I could play with this, and I welcome you to please do go ahead and click through and click all these chart types here. It's non-destructive. You're not going to hurt anything by seeing what something looks like. If you click the chart, it'll take a couple seconds to refresh, and then you can see what happens. That's kind of a fun way to look at it. You can see the visual will tell you sort of what it should look like. Now, not every single one of these charts will actually work with your data. It might not look like anything. For instance, this one, stacked column chart, tells me nothing. It's very hard to see anything going on there. No differentiation whatsoever. Column chart, I think, is a pretty good one to look at this data also. Yep, sure enough. Actually, that's a really nice way to look at this data. You see the numbers are kind of scrambled here at the bottom. If I grab this arrow here and pull out, I think it should give me a little more space. Yes, it does. So you can see that more clearly. And that's pretty nice, and it rolls over and highlights. So I could go bar chart, I could go column chart. I'm going to leave it, I'm going to go right back to bar chart actually, because I think I'm going to stick with that original idea of using this as a bar chart. Can I pull it out? Let me see if I use... no, it's not going to let me do that. Okay. Well, I'm going to now click through these tabs here. I have Refine, and I have Annotate, and I have Design. So Design is not something we need to use. Annotate is, however. And as you can see, insert title here. It gives me a tab here to do this. I could double click here and add that there, but I find it's a little bit easier in this one area. So what I'm going to do is give it a title. I'm going to say Cuesta College Enrollment over the past, well, actually I'll put that in the description. So Cuesta College Enrollment, and I'm going to say enrollment over the past decade. because it's about the decade. So that gives me a subheader here. It's nice and clean. Notes would be to add. I don't think that shows up in the graphic at the end. Data source. This is very, very important when it comes to publishing data. You really always want to, you absolutely always want to tell who your data source was. So if somebody's looking at this graphic, they can say, oh, I want to check that out. This is interesting. Or I want to check that out because I'm not sure I trust that source. So you want to be a trusting source. Definitely list your data source. In this case, it's CCC Datamart, and it's my data source. So I'm going to link directly to it where I got that. And I'm going to grab it from right here. Wow, I had no idea that I lost my session. That's interesting. Okay, so grab the URL there. Back here, I'm going to link to that URL. This is all going to land right in your data graphic for somebody else. And then I can put my byline, which is, of course, me. And there we go. Oh, and the last thing is interesting here. You can highlight the most important elements in your graphic. So if you have one, for instance, year you really want to pull out, say your larger story is talking about 2016-17, the most recent year, or the first year, whatever it may be, you can select the element here and highlight it by just selecting it. And what happened here is we got a bold. So that's kind of nice. It's not, and actually you can do that for several if you want. So maybe the first and the last. So that's kind of, might be more important on a different graph, but it works here. So at this point, we're done. This is a great graph. I want you guys to build the same kind of thing using the same kind of data. You're welcome to get a little bit more complicated if you want and try it out, but I'm not asking you to go past doing enrollment for Quest to College. You can go for the decade, you can go for 3 years, you can go for 20 years. My goal here is to have you building this and making it look okay. And so you can publish it and turn it in. So I'm going to, next step, click over here, publish and embed this file. And here we are. I have Quest College. I'm going to publish, embed it. And I've got mail. So confirm the link that you get your chart. So click that. I think I'm having a little trouble with my activation thing. I thought I was activated. But nevertheless, if you get to this point, what I want you to do is take a screen grab, which is on the Mac, is a Shift Command 3, and I will grab the whole screen. And you can also publish this. And when you turn it in, then I want to see this final page of your graphic, whether it looks like this or something else. Okay, that was a long video. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much for giving this a go and building this graphic with Datawrapper. And as always, if you run into a hurdle, call me by email. That's right. Send me an email as soon as you can. I will check it both days this weekend. And I will look forward to talking and hearing from you and seeing your graphic work. Thanks all. Talk to you soon.